Africa and fire. The two are interwoven. Across the continent, bonds are created around fire. Songs are sung, stories told. Life and death, recognized and celebrated. Rites of passage are underscored by the heat of flame. Time is measured by the arrival and departure of the great fires that shape, scorch, and define the land. There is no food without fire. There is no shelter without fire. In Africa, there is no life without fire.
It's for a very good reason that Africa is referred to as the fiery continent. More wildfires occur here than any other place on Earth. The area consumed by fire in Africa annually comprises 2/3 of the total area burned around the world. It's hardly surprising. We have the planet's most extensive area of savannas and grasslands, a massive region stretching from the edge of the Sahara across the equator on the east to the lush landscapes of the south. We have a climate where the long, dry, warm season favors fire. And we have generations of men and beasts that have farmed and grazed the land to the point where managed fires have become a way of life.
It's estimated that up to 90% of the fires that burn across Africa are set by people. Fires that are set primarily during the months of dryness in order to remove old dead vegetation and to produce new green growth in the springtime.
Natural fires, lightning being the chief cause, account for the rest. In the early wet season, the African climate creates dramatic lightning storms, which before the advent of human ancestors would have resulted in giant fires that burned for days as they swept across the continent. But it's the man-made fires that most influence the well-being of the environment, its valuable resources, and ultimately the quality of life for those who live here.
Large numbers of evolutionary adaptations indicate that periodic fires in Africa long predate the keeping of livestock when the practice of burning for spring grazing began. And as man has controlled and influenced this environment over centuries, with a bit of help from Mother Nature, the land has responded accordingly. Fire is a vital and integral part of the vast African ecosystem, and the continent thrives because of it. Many indigenous plant and animal species have growth and reproduction cycles that have evolved with the fire patterns and would in all likelihood become locally extinct if these patterns were compromised. There is a strong need for a locally appropriate fire regime to secure the proper functioning of African ecosystems.
We grew up with fire. Well, what can you tell us about? Because this thing of house burnt and whatever, grazing lands, they are used to it. So they thought this is part of life. But after fireworks came, they realized now that what they were doing was very, very dangerous and wrong, because fire is dangerous and it destroys their properties, it destroys grazing, and even they die because of fire.
Which is why it is essential to manage fire. Fire management programs must be designed with communities to maintain ecosystem productivity but prevent loss of property. FireWise is a program that teaches communities to do just that.
Fact: regular fire is vital to the continuing health of savannas and grasslands of Africa, especially as these open ecosystems are where most of Africa's ever-increasing human population reside.
Fire is dangerous, but not always. Sometimes we start fires for hunting. It flushes out the animals. Or when we collect honey from beehives in the ground. When it is hot, where the trees are too many, we start the fire to make the trees less. When the rain comes, there is more grass for the animals.
Today, the African landscape is under immense pressure, with deforestation and land degradation inching across the continent relentlessly. The domino effect of shrinking natural ecosystems and unstable fire patterns has a direct impact on the continent's life-sustaining resources. These include river flows in the headwaters of some of the major river systems.
It's evident that a sustained, more orchestrated fire management program should be implemented in order to reverse really concerning trends.
Evident because fire is an essential part of the natural rejuvenation and recovery of African woodlands and rangelands. This allows them to continue to provide services to people and animals in a sustainable manner. Fire has its season. From July, we must be cautious. We open the fire bells not to burn everything. From October, we burn the grass. Then there is grass for our animals after the rain.
The balance between tree-covered and open landscapes needs to be managed more effectively. And the related balance between carbon retention and release, a balance maintained historically by periodic burning of fires in grasslands and woodlands.
The issue of continental fire management in a region encompassing many different countries, differing cultures and varying socioeconomic values against urban, peri-urban and rural backdrops is a complex one. A participative approach is the most realistic way to restore and maintain the biodiversity that supports the people and natural resources of the African continent, and that requires periodic fires in order to survive. By working in conjunction with land users, by developing programs and structures at community level, there's a huge potential for initiatives that will result in rural job creation as well as upskilling of local talents.
The intention of this presentation is to create a spark that will hopefully take flame amongst the relevant parties, authorities and concerned institutions.
The task at hand is a massive one. But the opportunities for the continent of Africa and its inhabitants are immense.